Hi everybody, we are going to conclude our series of discussion around variance analysis by focusing on the last part, manufacturing overhead cost variance. It's going to have two components. One is the variable manufacturing overhead variance and the other one is fixed manufacturing overhead budget variance. So let's take a look at them separately. Manufacturing overhead is usually driven by something like machine hours, and the reason why it's chosen, for example, machine hours, is machine hours directly impact the electricity that is used, which is an indirect item and hence overhead. Usually they drive the indirect labor, indirect material, as well as other variable costs that is going to go to manufacturing overhead. So from that perspective, choosing machine hours is the right thing to do. It's given in the problem anyways, but wanted to tell you the reason why. So the budgeted machine hours was 2,000 and budgeted overhead rate was $10. In reality, what happened was we have 2,750 machine hours and the actual overhead rate turns out to be $8 per hour. We are going to skip this part for now and we are going to ask, like, what is the variable overhead variance? We know that the $15,000 variance in manufacturing overhead cost was distributed 1,000 for direct material from previous videos, 2,000 for direct labor cost, 2,000 for variable, and 10,000 fixed overhead. So how do we come up with the 2,000? We are going to look at, again, back to the flexible spending budget that we calculated, and we can see the variance right there. So in a sense, what we are doing is, what is the actual manufacturing overhead minus what is the budgeted manufacturing overhead. The actual is actually 2,750 times 8, and the budgeted is right here. 2,000 times 10 is $2,000 unfavorable. Now we can further split that into this 2,000 into spending variance versus efficiency variance. Now we see that from spending perspective, we are actually spending less, so it's a good thing, but we are operating much more machine hours, so we are ineffective from that perspective. If we calculate the spending variance, what we are going to do is actual hours multiplied by the difference of the prices, actual minus standard. So it is negative. This is a cost. Since it's negative, the actual is less than the actual, the cost is less, hence it's favorable, $5,500. On the efficiency side, we are multiplying the standard rate, $10 per hour, by the difference of hours and actual hours and the budget. So 10 times 2,750 minus 2,000 gives us 7,500. That's unfavorable. If we add these up, the net is going to be 2,000 unfavorable, which is right here. So I can go back here and say this 2,000 actually is, there is a minus 5.5 right here and 7.5 right here. The sum of these is going to be 2. That's the variable manufacturing overhead variance. Now, on the fixed budget overhead variance, what we are going to do is take the actual fixed overhead and subtract it from budgeted fixed overhead. That is $10,000 unfavorable. And that is fixed manufacturing overhead budget variance. And that is kind of important in this picture that we need to calculate. And it's 10,000 right here. Now we know all the components that will make up to $15,000 difference in a negative way. 10,000 is coming from fixed manufacturing, 2,000 from variable. From previous videos, we know that 2,000 is direct labor cost, 1,000 is direct material. And then 15,000 plus there is a sales price variance. 1,000 gives us flexible spending variance from the first video of variance analysis, video 28. 16,000. Sales quantity variance was 6,000. The total variance in this example was 22,000. One last thing I want to mention is something called fixed overhead volume variance. It is not directly related to this problem, but you may be asked like what that is. So what it is actually is, the definition of it is the budget variance was actual minus budget. The volume variance is budget minus applied fixed overhead. Remember, we are applying fixed overhead when we don't have the actuals from earlier videos. The budget was 30,000. And what we are applying is $10 per machine hour. This is our predetermined overhead rate. We are using volume based, not activity based. And total machine hours turns out to be 2,750. So 10 multiplied by 2,750. What we are doing is it's unfavorable 2,750. It shows that we have underapplied the overhead. It is something nice to know. Again, it doesn't explain the difference right here, the 22,000 difference, but something you might be asked about, like what the fixed overhead volume variance is, and is basically the budgeted fixed overhead minus the applied fixed overhead. And with that, we pretty much captured everything in variance analysis over 4 videos. Hope this helps.